In his recent inauguration speech on January 20, 2025, President Donald Trump prominently praised William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, marking a significant moment in the revival of interest in McKinley's legacy. This speech has reignited discussions about McKinley's economic policies and territorial expansions during his presidency from 1897 until his assassination in 1901. Who was William McKinley? William McKinley was born on January 29, 1843 in Niles, Ohio. He served in the Civil War and went on to become a prominent political figure, eventually becoming the governor of Ohio. In the 1896 presidential election, he ran as the Republican candidate, advocating for protective tariffs and the gold standard, which he believed would stabilize the economy and promote growth. His presidency is often associated with significant events such as the Spanish-American War, which resulted in the United States acquiring territories including Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. McKinley's administration is credited with implementing protective tariffs that aimed to bolster American industry by making imported goods more expensive. This policy was popular among industrialists and contributed to significant economic growth during his time in office. However, it also led to criticisms as the increased costs of goods affected consumers. Trump's praise for McKinley. In his inauguration speech, Trump commended McKinley for his economic strategies, specifically stating that McKinley made America rich through tariffs. He highlighted McKinley's role in the Spanish-American War, which Trump described as pivotal in expanding American influence globally. Trump expressed intentions to reclaim territories, citing the Panama Canal as a strategic interest, echoing McKinley's expansionist policies. Following his speech, Trump signed an executive order reaffirming McKinley's accomplishments, including his victory in the Spanish-American War and the annexation of Hawaii. Additionally, Trump took symbolic actions to align himself with McKinley's legacy, such as restoring the name Mount McKinley to its high peak, which had been renamed Denali under the Obama administration. The complex legacy of McKinley. While Trump's admiration for McKinley is clear, it raises questions about the consistency of his populist claims. Critics point out that McKinley was fundamentally opposed to the original populist movement, which aimed to represent the interests of farmers and laborers against the elite. This presents a stark contrast to Trump's self-identified populism, as McKinley's policies primarily favored wealthy industrialists. Sources like the New York Times and MSNBC highlight the complexity of Trump's embrace of McKinley. The New York Times suggests that Trump's revival of McKinley's legacy is part of his broader ambitions for his second term, while MSNBC critiques the apparent contradiction of a populist leader praising a president associated with anti-populist policies. A timely political strategy. Trump's focus on McKinley appears strategically timed with his aspirations for a second term. His references to territorial expansion resonate with McKinley's era, as Trump expresses desires to reclaim Greenland and enhance control over the Panama Canal. This approach aligns with McKinley's historical pursuit of American expansionism, but contrasts with the reluctance McKinley showed about the burdens of maintaining overseas territories. Political commentators have noted the unique position McKinley holds in American history, particularly given the current political landscape. Justin F. Jackson, a historian, argues that while Trump's admiration for McKinley is rooted in correct assessments of his accomplishments, it overlooks McKinley's doubts about expansion and the negative consequences that followed. Conclusion. In summary, President Trump's tribute to William McKinley during his inauguration speech underscores a deliberate attempt to align himself with a historical figure known for economic nationalism and territorial expansion. However, this relationship also reveals deeper complexities regarding the nature of populism and the political branding Trump seeks to embody. As he embarks on his second term, the implications of invoking McKinley's legacy may shape not only his administration's policies but also the broader narrative of American political identity. President William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, has recently emerged as a focal point of admiration for former President Donald Trump during his inaugural speech on January 20, 2025. Trump praised McKinley for his economic policies, specifically highlighting his use of protective tariffs, which Trump claimed made America rich through tariffs. He also credited McKinley with facilitating America's territorial expansion, particularly through military victories in the Spanish-American War, which resulted in the acquisition of territories like the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico. This revival of interest in McKinley's legacy raises intriguing and counterintuitive points about both presidents and their respective political ideologies. McKinley, who served from 1897 until his assassination in 1901, is often viewed through the lens of economic protectionism and imperialism. His administration is famous for implementing high tariffs to protect American industry and for expanding U.S. influence abroad, a narrative that Trump seems eager to adopt as he envisions a second term characterized by similar ambitions for economic nationalism and territorial reclamation. Trump's administration has already taken steps to align itself with McKinley's legacy, such as restoring the name Mount McKinley to its original designation, reversing President Obama's decision to name it Denali. However, this alignment with McKinley presents a complex contradiction in Trump's self-identified populist rhetoric. Critics argue that McKinley's policies were fundamentally opposed to the original populist movement, which championed the interests of farmers and laborers against the economic elite. McKinley is often associated with policies that favored wealthy business interests, raising questions about the authenticity of Trump's populist claims. The original populists were fighting against figures like McKinley, who they viewed as a champion of the wealthy and a proponent of big business. The New York Times and MSNBC have diverged in their analyses of Trump's motivations for embracing McKinley. The Times suggests that Trump is strategically reviving McKinley's legacy to bolster his own ambitions, while MSNBC critiques the notion of Trump as a populist given McKinley's historical role as an opponent of populist ideals. Both sources, however, agree on the importance of McKinley in American history, particularly regarding his tariff policies and expansionist actions. The backdrop of Trump's inaugural speech included a vague narrative of betrayal and a call to reclaim American greatness, themes that resonate with McKinley's era marked by territorial expansion and economic consolidation. Trump's interest in reclaiming territories like Greenland and the Panama Canal reflects a desire to evoke the imperial spirit of McKinley's presidency. However, while McKinley expressed regret over the burdens of maintaining newly acquired territories, Trump's ambitions appear more aggressive, suggesting a potential willingness to use coercive tactics to achieve his goals. Moreover, Trump's praise for McKinley coincides with a broader narrative of American political identity that intertwines nationalism with economic policy. While Trump lauds McKinley's tariffs as a means of enriching the nation, the original populists opposed tariffs as they were seen as benefiting corporate interests at the expense of the common people. This contradiction highlights the complexity of American populism as it evolves and adapts to different political contexts. In summary, Trump's admiration for McKinley serves as a reflection of his aspirations for America, but it also underscores the contradictions within his political identity. By aligning himself with a president who represents the antithesis of original populist ideals, Trump raises questions about the actual meaning of populism in contemporary politics. This intricate relationship with McKinley sheds light on the evolving narratives surrounding American political identity, economic nationalism, and the legacy of past presidents. President William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, has recently emerged as a focal point of discussion due to President Trump's laudatory remarks during his inauguration speech. This renewed interest in McKinley's legacy, particularly regarding his economic policies and territorial expansion, raises several significant yet often overlooked points about both McKinley's historical context and Trump's strategic motivations. 1. Economic policies and tariffs. One of the most pronounced aspects of McKinley's presidency was his strong support for protective tariffs. Trump praised McKinley for making America rich through tariffs, highlighting a direct parallel to his own economic approach. Critics often overlook the implications of this admiration, particularly how tariffs can serve as a double-edged sword. While they may protect domestic industries, they can also lead to higher consumer prices and retaliatory measures from trading partners. This complexity in economic policy is significant as it underscores the potential pitfalls of embracing a tariff-heavy strategy without considering its broader economic consequences. 2. Territorial expansion and military engagement. McKinley's presidency was marked by significant territorial gains following the Spanish-American War, including the annexation of Hawaii and the acquisition of the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico. Trump's allusions to reclaiming territories like Greenland and a stated interest in the Panama Canal evoke McKinley's expansionist policies but often sidestep the historical consequences of such actions. The Philippine-American War that followed McKinley's decisions resulted in substantial loss of life and long-term geopolitical ramifications. This historical context is crucial as it challenges the romanticized notion of expansion and raises questions about the ethical implications of such territorial ambitions. 3. Populist contradictions. Trump's embrace of McKinley poses a profound contradiction to his self-identified populist identity. McKinley was fundamentally opposed to the original populist movement, which sought to empower working-class individuals against the elite. This discrepancy is significant because it brings into question the authenticity of Trump's populist claims. While he positions himself as a champion of the common person, aligning with a president whose policies favored wealthy interests reveals a potential disconnect between his rhetoric and the historical realities of the figures he admires. The media's interpretation of Trump's motivations reveals a broader narrative about the evolution of American political identity. For example, the New York Times emphasizes the strategic nature of reviving McKinley's legacy as part of Trump's ambitions for economic nationalism and territorial expansion. In contrast, MSNBC critiques this alignment, pointing out that McKinley represented the antithesis of populist ideals. This ongoing debate reflects the complexities of political branding and the historical narratives that politicians choose to embrace. 4. Restoration of historical names. One of Trump's first symbolic acts was restoring the name Mount McKinley, reversing President Obama's designation of the peak as Denali. This act illustrates a broader trend of invoking historical figures to legitimize current political agendas. The significance lies in how such actions can shape public perception and historical narratives, often glossing over the nuanced realities of those figures' legacies. By restoring McKinley's name, Trump not only aligns himself with a pro-tariff expansionist legacy but also seeks to redefine national identity through the lens of historical figures who may not align with contemporary values. 5. Foreign policy and military strategy. Trump's foreign policy ambitions echo McKinley's era of military engagement. McKinley's reluctance about the imperialistic consequences of his policies highlights the potential burdens of overseas expansion, a historical lesson that seems pertinent today. Trump's aggressive rhetoric about reclaiming territories and military interventions raises questions about the sustainability and morality of such approaches. The historical precedent set by McKinley serves as a cautionary tale about the unintended consequences of military expansion, which can lead to prolonged conflicts and strained international relations. 6. The legacy of presidential power. Trump's admiration for McKinley also raises questions about the evolving nature of presidential power and its implications for governance. McKinley's presidency occurred during a time when the executive branch was beginning to assert more influence over foreign policy, a trend that has continued into the present. This trajectory of increasing presidential power, particularly in matters of war and territorial expansion, warrants critical examination, especially given contemporary debates surrounding executive authority and democratic accountability. Conclusion. In conclusion, President Trump's praise for William McKinley in his inauguration speech is laden with significant implications that many may overlook. The intertwining of economic nationalism, territorial ambitions, and the contradictions within Trump's populist identity reveals a complex relationship with historical narratives. By invoking McKinley's legacy, Trump not only seeks to align himself with a past of economic protectionism and expansionism but also risks oversimplifying the historical realities and ethical dilemmas associated with such policies. Understanding these nuances is crucial for a comprehensive analysis of contemporary political dynamics and the historical precedents that inform them. 1. Economic nationalism and tariff policies. One of the most significant points in the discussion surrounding President Trump's admiration for President McKinley is the focus on economic nationalism, particularly through the implementation of protective tariffs. Trump praised McKinley for making America rich through tariffs, which echoes his own administration's policies favoring economic protectionism. This connection highlights a broader narrative in American politics where tariffs are viewed not only as tools for economic gain but also as symbols of national strength and independence. An in-depth analysis can explore how such tariff policies impact different socioeconomic groups, the historical context of tariffs in American politics, and the implications for current international trade relations. 2. Territorial expansion and foreign policy. Trump's reference to McKinley's role in territorial expansion, particularly through military victories in the Spanish-American War, reflects a revival of imperialistic ambitions that characterized the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The acquisition of territories like the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico under McKinley serves as a backdrop for contemporary discussions about U.S. foreign policy and military interventions. An analysis could delve into the motivations behind territorial expansion, the consequences for both the U.S. and the territories involved, and how Trump's ambitions for reclaiming strategic territories like Greenland and the Panama Canal resonate with McKinley's era. 3. Populism versus elite interests. The juxtaposition of Trump's populist rhetoric with his admiration for McKinley, who represented elite interests and was fundamentally opposed to the original populist movement, raises important questions about the authenticity of Trump's populist identity. Critics argue that McKinley's policies favored wealthy interests and that Trump's alignment with him contradicts his self-styled image as a champion of the common people. This contradiction invites a deeper examination of what populism means in the modern context, how political figures can manipulate populist narratives, and the implications for voter perception and political strategy. 4. Historical legacy and political identity. Trump's revival of McKinley's legacy, including actions like restoring the name Mount McKinley, suggests a strategic effort to align his administration with a historical figure that embodies certain ideals of American greatness. This raises questions about how historical legacies are invoked in contemporary politics and what it means for political identity. An in-depth discussion could explore the dynamics of historical memory in political discourse, the selective appropriation of past figures to legitimize current policies, and the impact of such narratives on public opinion and historical understanding. 1. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and its aftermath. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria in 1914 is a pivotal historical event that set off a chain reaction leading to World War I. The Archduke's assassination by Gavrilo Princip, a member of a Yugoslav nationalist organization, was fueled by nationalistic fervor and a desire for independence from Austro-Hungarian rule. This event not only highlighted the tensions between various nationalist groups but also demonstrated the complex web of alliances that existed at the time, leading to a global conflict that reshaped the political landscape of Europe. 2. The Spanish-American War 1898. The Spanish-American War serves as a significant historical parallel to the themes of territorial expansion and military conflict mentioned in Trump's praise of McKinley. The war was triggered by the United States intervention in the Cuban War of Independence and was characterized by rapid military successes that resulted in the U.S. gaining control over territories such as Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. This conflict marked a turning point in U.S. foreign policy as it transitioned from isolationism to a more imperialistic approach. reflecting a desire to expand American influence globally. 3. The populist movement of the 1890s. The populist movement, which emerged in the late 19th century, aimed to represent the interests of farmers and laborers against the entrenched power of corporate elites and wealthy interests. The movement sought reforms such as the regulation of railroads, the establishment of a graduated income tax, and the direct election of U.S. senators. This grassroots effort, however, often found itself in opposition to figures like McKinley, whose policies favored the business class and protective tariffs. The clash between the populist ideals and McKinley's presidency underscores the ongoing struggle between economic nationalism and populism in American political history. William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, served from 1897 until his assassination in 1901. Recently, during his inauguration speech, President Donald Trump praised McKinley for his economic policies, particularly his protective tariffs and territorial expansions, drawing parallels between McKinley's era and his own vision for America's future. This renewed interest in McKinley's legacy raises questions about the implications for Trump's presidency and the broader political landscape. McKinley's legacy. McKinley is best known for his role in the Spanish-American War, which resulted in the U.S. acquiring territories such as the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico. His administration implemented protective tariffs that aimed to boost American industry and secure economic growth. Trump highlighted these aspects, stating that McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs, suggesting a desire to adopt similar economic strategies. Furthermore, Trump's administration has taken steps to reaffirm McKinley's legacy, including restoring the name Mount McKinley to its highest peak, a symbolic act reflecting a commitment to national pride and historical recognition. This aligns with Trump's broader themes of economic nationalism and territorial ambition, as he seeks to reclaim strategic areas such as Greenland and the Panama Canal. Critique of populism. Despite the admiration for McKinley, there is a notable contradiction in Trump's self-identification as a populist. McKinley's policies often favored wealthy interests and stood in opposition to the original populist movement, which sought to advocate for farmers and laborers against elite power. Critics argue that Trump's praise for McKinley undermines his populist branding, revealing a tension between his rhetoric and the historical realities of McKinley's presidency. The original populist movement emerged in the late 19th century, advocating for economic reforms to alleviate the burdens on small farmers and urban workers. This group fundamentally opposed the type of economic policies McKinley championed. Thus, Trump's alignment with McKinley raises questions about the authenticity of his populist claims, as it appears to cater more to nationalist sentiments than to genuine populist ideals. Future outlook. Looking ahead, the embrace of McKinley's legacy may influence Trump's policy directions and campaign strategies in his second term. His administration could see a continuation or intensification of economic nationalism, emphasizing protectionist tariffs and pursuing territorial ambitions reminiscent of the late 19th century. This could manifest in 1. Economic policies. Expect an increased focus on tariffs as a tool for economic growth. Trump may double down on protectionist measures to bolster American manufacturing, using McKinley's policies as a historical framework. 2. Territorial expansion. Trump's interest in reclaiming territories like Greenland and exerting influence over the Panama Canal could lead to heightened tensions with foreign nations, especially given the strategic significance of these locations. 3. Political identity. Trump's alignment with McKinley may further polarize the political landscape, as he seeks to consolidate support among traditional Republican bases while attempting to appeal to populist sentiments. This could lead to a more aggressive stance on issues related to immigration and national security. For historical narratives, the revival of McKinley's legacy may also shape the narratives surrounding American exceptionalism and expansionism, prompting discussions about the ethical implications of such policies, particularly in light of historical colonialism. 5. Internal party dynamics. As Trump navigates his presidency, the Republican Party may continue to grapple with its identity, balancing traditional conservative values with the populist rhetoric that Trump embodies. This could lead to internal conflicts regarding policy priorities and electoral strategies. Conclusion: Trump's admiration for William McKinley signals a revival of interest in historical precedents of economic nationalism and territorial expansion. However, this relationship raises important questions about the authenticity of Trump's populist claims and the potential contradictions within his administration's policies. As the political landscape evolves, the influence of McKinley's legacy on Trump's presidency may shape not only economic and foreign policies but also the broader narrative of American identity in the 21st century. The future will likely see a continued alignment with McKinley's principles as Trump seeks to carve out a distinctive political path that resonates with his supporters while challenging the established norms of American governance.